on
Okay.
every single platform.
I am in streaming in 3, 2, 1, and I am live now on Instagram, Instagrammers and Facebookers and iTunes podcasters around the globe, streamers from and gleamers and cheamers around the world. We're ready to do it. We are at the tail end, actually at the very end of this 9 steps to improving your relationship. What would we call it? Class or
it's a master class,
a master class program, 9 steps to improving your relationships program podcast. This is step 9, and I'm ready to do this. I'm ready to cap this off, and then tomorrow we're going to finish it off with a kind of recap, and then where do we go from here, and the next steps in our evolution as the Power, Purpose, and Passion podcast continues to serve your deepest needs. Let's go and do this.
All right, episode starting in 3, 2, 1.
Leaders and healers from around the globe, from around the universe, welcome to the Power, Purpose, and Passion podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Cheam, speaker, life coach, author, trainer, friend to you, who are listening to this podcast. The Power, Purpose, and Passion podcast is all about helping you claim your power, clarify your purpose, and cultivate your deepest, widest, and highest passions and visions in life so you can ultimately live the best life, become the best version of yourself, express the best version of yourself, and then ultimately share that vision, share that purpose with others, share that version of yourself so you can inspire and give others permission to give the best of themselves and be the best version of themselves on a continuous basis. And you know what? The truth of the matter is we can never really be our best. We can just be better each and every single day. So show up as a better version of yourself. And as I heard Wayne Dyer always used to say, true nobility doesn't come from being better than anyone else. True nobility comes from being just a bit better than who you used to be. And I truly believe that we can all take those small steps towards higher states of consciousness, better relationships, better health, better spirituality, increased levels of fulfillment in our jobs, in our personal life. So thank you for joining us. Cameron's on the mic. We are here on step 9. We are on the final step of this 9 steps to improve your relationships. I am so jacked to finish this off, and also kind of sad that we're finishing it off because, I had a great time doing this and talking and listening to the people's comments and questions and sending me questions about all these nuggets and the many different ways that we can improve ourselves, improve our relationships, and improve our world and the experience of life that we live in, that we are co-creating on a daily basis. So thank you for joining us. That's a crazy introduction. I'm ready to go to step 9. What's step 9 there, Cam?
Step 9 is constant progress, never-ending growth in a relationship. So I guess this is really the last one. Like, once you've figured out all 8 steps, all you have to do is keep the engine running. Do what you can to make it fresh and new and exciting and not get old and whatever. What is the point in short-term relationships?
Yes,
you get into a relationship, you're like, all right, this is going to be a good 2 weeks, and then I'm out. No, you're going to want to keep this thing going. So I'm excited for this episode.
Yes. Well, you know what? To really think about it, you know what? These 9 steps, you could literally study these 9 steps in literally half an afternoon or in a morning. Listen to the podcast. It'll probably take you about 3 or 4 hours to listen to the podcast, all 9 podcasts. But the reality is you could literally study it in an afternoon and then master it, take a lifetime to master all the principles. I certainly am still mastering it. I often tell people I still feel like I'm in probably grade 1 when it comes to life school. I mean, when I know the universe can produce a guy like Gandhi, or I know that there are people out there the universe can produce a guy like Nelson Mandela or a Mother Teresa or a Wayne Dyer or a Jesus Christ or a Buddha, when I know that's available to all of us, and one of my favorite lines of Jesus is, even the least among you can do all that I have done and greater things. Why would he say that unless what existed inside Jesus exists inside us too? And I think that's what he was trying to teach us, that whatever was in him, we can do it too. It's just being able to take that narrow journey towards that path and constant and never-ending improvement. The Japanese call it Kaizen. Constant improvement, constant sharpening, constant growth. And I often tell people, a great metaphor for this about being committed to constant growth is the idea of growing pains. When you're small, my kids are experiencing that right now when they have growing pains in their legs or their arms or their hips or whatever it might be. Those are natural growing pains. When you grow up physically, you're going to have natural growing pains. Growing up physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, you're going to have growing pains. But guess what? The more growing pains that you discover and to experience in your life, depending on the life stage you're in, the more growing gains you will achieve, the more growth you will achieve in your spirituality, in your emotions, in your relationships. That's why for me, I'm satisfied. One of the philosophies I teach people is this: to be both content and satisfied with where you are, but also ambitious for more. To be content and satisfied with where you are, yes, appreciate for sure, be in the moment, yes, but also be okay. I also want to reach for that almost perfect version of me, even though it's not, it can't be achieved. That pure and perfect version of me, even though I can't achieve that exact thing, I'm going to get to it as close to as possible as I possibly can. Sharpen myself as much as I can. Give as much as myself as much as I can. And create and design and produce as much as I can while I'm here. And part of that, because this program is all about improving your relationships. In order to improve your relationships, you got to improve who you are on a consistent basis. So then when you show up as a better version of yourself, the other person starts to experience the better version of you showing up in the relationship. That's going to automatically elevate their consciousness and wanting to be better too. My wife, when I met her, she just, honestly, because she exuded so much love, I'm not going to lie to you, she made me want to be a better person. She literally made me want to be a better person. And because of who she was and who she is, she makes me want to be a better person. And so I want to be able to provide that for my clients, for my audience out here, the audience that I speak to, the people that are reading my books, people are listening to my podcast. I just want to give the best version of me, the better version of myself, so that ultimately people are like, wow, Anthony's so vibrant, so energetic. One of the greatest compliments I get is, man, your energy just like lifts me up. People come to I'll do a coaching session and all of a sudden they'll be all tired and they'll show up exhausted. And then all of a sudden within 5 minutes, just my energy and sharing of my passion with them, they're like, you can't help be moved by the enthusiasm, by the energy, by the love that is coming from me. And you know what? All you can do is literally provide the least resistance for that energy to flow through you. Call it love, call it spirit, call it divine, call it God, whatever you want to call it. You put yourself in a position where you provide the least resistance for that spiritual, loving energy to pervade every fiber of your being, every vein, every artery, every capillary of your body, every cell, every quantum and subatomic particle in your body, so that it can be released and you are just the instrument. All you can do is become a conduit to it. And as you do that, you're going to grow exponentially. I mean, if I look at myself even a year ago, I feel like I've grown so much, in my mindset, in my philosophy, in the past. Again, a great example of this, the past couple of weeks, I've had the challenge of losing my mom. I've had challenges of my wife, Nana, passing as well within a week and a half apart, the renovations that are happening, and then going on to dealing with the banks and her estate. And that's pretty stressful. But you know what? That also excites me, because I know that in that there's great lessons and there's great growth. So the greater challenge that you're experiencing in life right now, wherever you find yourself right now, whatever challenge or problem you're facing, know that the greater the challenge, the greater the growth. The growth potential is there. So if you want to build big muscles, you got to put those muscles up against lots of weight, lots of resistance. And I love the example that Tony Robbins uses when he was talking to Norman Vincent Peale. And Dr. Norman Vincent Peale, who wrote the book, The Power of Positive Thinking, he talked about how he was talking to Gene Tunney, the heavyweight boxing champion of the world at the time, back in the 40s or 30s or 40s. And he talked to him and he said, Gene, how do you get these big muscles? And Gene flexes muscles. He says, every day I push these muscles against extreme resistance. And by pushing against this extreme resistance, they expand by demand. And then Dr. Norman Vincent Peale was like, wow, this is amazing. Expand by demand. And then he had this sort of aha moment thinking, the universe, God sends us life resistance that we push up against, problems, right? That we push up against to sculpt our character, to sculpt our mind. So our mind expands by the demand. So here's the thing. The reality is you cannot grow in integrity, in love, unless it is hard. I mean, even the example Jim Rohn talks about is, he says, imagine there was a book out there, guys, and it said, first chapter, everything is just fine. Second chapter, everything is just fine. Third chapter, everything is still just fine. How many people would actually read that book? Not too many people would read that book, because guess what? That's not how life is. There's going to be ups and downs, mountains and valleys, peaks and valleys. There's going to be storms. There's going to be things that you don't account for, things that you don't prepare for. It's going to send you into a tailwind. But guess what? It's going to strengthen your character muscle. It's going to strengthen your life muscle. I remember even this, a great illustration of this is I forget what it was, but I remember reading a study about how they built this biosphere, indoor biosphere, and they would grow these massive trees, but the trees would actually grow to a certain length and then they would topple over. And they would topple over, and then the scientists were kind of perplexed about why these trees were actually falling over. And one of the scientists says, listen, the environment, the storms, the wind, they actually are necessary for the tree to grow strong roots and a strong trunk so that it doesn't fall over. That's a great metaphor. Everything you need to learn is in nature. Another great story. I love this story about parenting. And it's a great story about a Zen master. He's in a lotus position and he's holding a chrysalis in his hand. And in his hand, he's holding it and he's meditating. And one of his students comes by and says, hey, Zen master, what is that? And then the Zen master says, oh, it's a chrysalis and it's about to become a butterfly. And the guy said, oh, can I have it? And the boy said, can I have it? He said, yes, on one condition. When the chrysalis starts to begin to open, you do not help it to open. Let it open on its own. Let it struggle a bit. And the kid said, okay. So the kid went home put it on his windowsill, and he was just watching the chrysalis. And then with as much impatience as possible, he basically sat there, and eventually the chrysalis started to open. And then it was slow. And he said, you know what? This butterfly is struggling. I'll help it. And then he ripped the chrysalis open. The butterfly went out and flew, and then right to its death, right to the floor. And the boy was devastated. So the boy brought the butterfly back to the actual Zen master and said, hey, and the Zen master basically said to him, you helped it, didn't you? He said, yeah, I don't understand. I was helping it. He goes, the butterfly beats its wings against the chrysalis's walls to strengthen its wings so it could actually take flight. What you thought was helping it was actually killing it. So we need to build our body muscle, our mind muscle, our emotional muscle, our relationship muscle, our social muscle, our spiritual muscle to gain flight to where we need to go. If things were easy, we would literally go up and then we would sail down. So these are great little metaphors to think about when it comes to constant and never-ending improvement, to constant and never-ending appreciation and gratitude for your life, and constant and never-ending love and compassion for the people around you. That's what it means to be fulfilled. That's what it means to feel love. That is what it means to live fully, to constantly be committed to loving and making this world better, inserting and installing the best version of yourself on a consistent basis, small little steps, and then sharing the best of what you know, the best love, and then using whatever delivery system you have, your job, your career, whatever role you're playing, to deliver as much love as possible. My delivery system is through podcasts, books, life coaching, personal training, speaking. Your delivery system might be through working at a dental office and providing your patients with the greatest level of service and love and comfort as you clean their teeth and you coach them how to have the healthiest mouth as humanly possible. Or if you're a doctor, or if you're a veterinarian, or if you're even a janitor. You know, there's no job that's undesirable. There's only certain people that see certain jobs as undesirable. So you can make any role a vehicle or a delivery system to express the highest in you as humanly possible. What do you think there, Cam?
I completely agree. Life would be absolutely boring if, things were easy, if there was no hardship. And I think also it wouldn't be nearly as rewarding if you didn't sort of have to go through hurdles and stuff to get something. Otherwise it would get really boring. There's like the obvious, I don't know, you've seen it in movies where someone's able to do everything that they want and they just get bored of it because it's like, okay,
yes,
I have
of course.
I want, so
of course.
So what I mean, like in the context of relationships, what should people look out for in that context, like things slowing down or things getting mundane and redundant or whatever?
Well, at the end of the day, when it comes to constant growth, constant commitment to discipline yourself to grow, there's going to be periods of what I call the hallway of confusion. There's going to be periods where it's like working out. You hit a plateau when you're working out, right? You ever had that before where you hit a plateau? There's going to be life plateaus where you seemingly actually feel like you're not growing, but the greatest growth is actually happening in those plateau moments. And a great illustration of what I'm talking to, what I'm telling you is that when, as an example, his name is the guy that wrote the book of The 1 Minute Manager, Ken Blanchard. He talked about the 4 steps to peak performance and being the best version of yourself, if you want to call it that. He says the first step, if you are on a journey, the first step is the enthusiastic beginner. So you go on this journey, you're like, all right, I'm going to open up this business, or I'm going to lose 100 pounds, or I'm going to, develop the best and most passionate relationship humanly possible. And you're enthusiastic about it. And we've all been there. We're like, I'm ready to do this. I'm going to achieve this. I'm going to succeed. And then you step into the world. You go from step 1, enthusiastic beginner, to step 2, the disillusioned learner. And the disillusioned learner says, wait a second, this is going to be harder than I thought. This is going to take a lot longer than I thought. Losing 100 pounds isn't easy. I'm not as enthusiastic and excited as when I started, because this is hard. And you get disillusioned, you get demotivated. And this is where people quit, because they're like, oh, it's hard, I guess I'm not supposed to have it. And then if you're strong enough and you maintain consistency and discipline during those dark times, those hard times, you go to step 3, which is what they call a reluctant contributor. And the reluctant contributor basically goes, they feel like they're not really doing anything, not making any headway, they're not making any contributions, feel like they're actually not moving towards their deepest desires or getting any closer, and there's no tangible evidence of them succeeding. And that's where a lot of people quit too. But if they stick it, get the right mentorship, get the right strategies, build the emotional muscle, because a lot of the things that we're building during those second and third stages, the reluctant contributor and the disillusioned learner, you can't see with your eyes. But it's what's happening inside you that's being sculpted. And then if you finally reach and push through the second and third stage, guess what? You reach the fourth stage, which is the peak performer. And all of a sudden you go, wow, this may have taken years, months, whatever, to develop this level of skill. I mean, the person you're talking to, this did not happen overnight. You reach the fourth stage. I've read many books. I've studied. I've listened. I've get up really early in the morning to meditate, to pray, to contemplate. I'm constantly feeding this brain of mine so good stuff so I can give the best of me. Garbage in, garbage out. So I'm careful with what I feed my mind. So just be very careful with that. Be cognizant of what you're feeding your mind. Be cognizant of what stage you're at. Are you in the enthusiastic beginner stage? Are you in the disillusioned learner stage? Are you in the reluctant contributor stage? Or maybe perhaps you're in the peak performance stage and you've hit a plateau. Now it's time to step it up a bit. But you know what? As I say that, what's interesting is, I know a lot of peak performers out there, a lot of people that are achievers, they write a book and then they go on to the next book and they're never really celebrating their victories. So there's got to be an element of peak performance and constant growth, but also a level of contentment and satisfaction, the feeling of serenity, that knowing that your life matters, that being in the moment and saying to yourself, you know what am I grateful for in this moment? Why am I grateful for it? What have I been missing in my life that I could honestly be grateful for? Even living in Canada, the first world country, one of the greatest countries to live in, if you were to turn on your kitchen tap right now to either hot or cold water, you do that within seconds. You don't have to walk 12 kilometers to go and get fresh water, or you don't have to mine the salt in some mountain to get the salt that you need to, put into your foods, or you don't have to sit in a hot factory in India to design your shoes, or whatever it might be. If there's something wrong with you physically, you have a walk-in clinic literally down the street within 2 or 3 kilometers, depending on where you live. We have access to all this abundance, yet we don't actually sit and allow ourselves to appreciate. That is also part of constant and never-ending improvement, constant and never-ending love and gratitude and appreciation for everything that shows up in your life, the good, the bad, the ugly, the indifferent, and then moving on to constant and never-ending love and compassion for your fellow man, your fellow woman, children, animals, and you move on to the universe, all sentient beings. So that's part of all this growth. This is like what I like to call integrative growth, not just integrative a growth towards the better career, but growth towards a better relationships, a better spiritual life, a better life overall.
Okay. So Wow. All right. What else did you have to say about growth in relationships in this context?
Okay. Well, in terms of relationships, here's what I suggest you commit to. Look at those first 8 steps of the first 9 steps, the first 8 steps of the 9 steps to improve it. Pick one step of those, whether it be personality types, love languages, masculine, feminine energy, whatever it might be. Pick one of those things. Start there and go, all right. Study whatever personality type or love language you are, and then go on a journey of clarifying who you are, what needs you have, what you value the most, your rule book, whatever it might be, and start to really delve into that one step or that one area of relationships and study it and study it and study it and study it. Get used to that one area. I don't suggest you go all 9 steps and try and study it all. In fact, I think it was Benjamin Franklin would literally spend 1 year, would divide his life into, I think, 4 weeks at a time, and I think he had 13 4-week slots, which would equal 52. That's right. And for 4 weeks, he would study one principle and then live from that one principle. That's it. For 4 weeks, he would literally go full tilt at commitment, and then the next 4 weeks it could be love, and the next four weeks it could be, praying. Just pick one concept, one step. So in terms of your relationships, show up as the greatest love language possible. Understand and appreciate your partner or your friends or the people that you're working with, their love language as an example. I'm just using love language as an example. Understand their love language and then meet their love language. Go to work on meeting their love language. Go to work to meeting their personality type or understanding their feminine energy or masculine energy. And as you become sort of, you have an antenna now, you'll start to seek out some of these wisdom, and it will naturally just come through you. You'll start to develop better relationships. You'll start to develop better confidence. And God knows, you know what? You might find the partner you've been looking for, and you might actually find your intimate relationships becoming more passionate. You might find that you are giving more than you're expecting to receive. And you'll just find naturally, you're just going to be, people are going to be drawn to you. You won't have to chase anybody or find any friends because you're going to be the leader who steps up and gives the best to the world, the best love languages, the best personality types, the best of their masculine, feminine energy, the best rule books. It's just going to be an absolute crazy journey, and that's never ending. Never ending. So commit to that. I promise you guys out there on this show that the more you are committed to growth, the more you're committed to growth. And for me, I think one of the greatest growth journeys you can take in your relationship is one of remaining humble, having a sense of humility about who you are, and a sense of gratitude and grace as you move into many different facets of your life and the dynamics through which you live your life. And so with that, let's end that to your continued upgrade and evolution. Live it up with power, purpose, and passion. If you like this episode, share it, like it, comment on it, subscribe to any channels. Please, I want to give you the best. And naturally, if you can't make the show live, it'll just be, sent to you if you subscribe to YouTube or iTunes or Spotify. I want to give you the best. So thank you for joining us. God bless you on your journey and on every endeavor that you wish to trek on and walk on. Thank you, guys.